as many of you know, my name is Eric Jonathan Sheptok, and I'm a homeless advocate here in Washington, D.C. And some of you out there have interviewed me concerning homelessness, and so you've covered homelessness for many years, and recently you've been talking about Mayor Muriel Bowser's plan for ending homelessness and really giving exposure and giving her kudos and so forth and so on. And you know, when it gets cold, you're going to talk about how people are suffering out there in the elements, and you're going to garner a lot of sympathy for the homeless. But now it's warm, and so we aren't out here suffering in the snow and in the freezing cold, the heat notwithstanding. But that said, let's not forget about the homeless at this time of year. Let's not only come out when it's time to sympathize with them because they're shivering, but let's talk about ending homelessness, and let's talk about real plans. And so the mayor's plan is a robust plan, and I'm not here to knock it, but I'm here to add to it and to ask you, media folk, to critique it and to pick through it and to say, you know, what's missing. And I want to suggest that we focus more on the employment piece. So I can qualify my statement that 75 or 80% of the homeless are able to work. During the CCMV shelter task force process, a survey by TCP was put forth that said more than 50% of the homeless are under age 60 and able to work. And then when you factor in the families, it's been said that less than 100 homeless parents are disabled. And so when you put all that together, long story short, at least 75% of the homeless can work. And so that begs the question then, why is there not more of a robust effort to connect homeless people to living wage jobs and affordable housing? Now, I'm going to withhold judgment in terms of what I think is the reason, but what I'm going to ask you to do, since you are media people, is to find out yourself. You're very good at fact finding, so use your media skills and go out there and ask DC government, why is it that you're not doing more around employment? And you can even suggest this. Suggest that they do for employment what they did for permanent supportive housing. So a few months ago, when I was at the CCNV shelter, DHS sent people in there, and they occupied a couple of offices on the second floor every day for several weeks. And the homeless people went through there and got surveyed, and they had about 60 questions, and where they assessed people's mental state and their physical condition and other things that cause them to become homeless or to remain homeless. And so what I'm suggesting is that we have another survey with probably about 60 questions where we assess people's ability to work. And I would also say that we shouldn't just steer them into one or two fields of work, because there are some work programs out there to teach homeless people about hospitality work and food service, food handling, okay? And we always get steered into one, two, maybe three different fields of work that the government figures that we're capable of doing. And those jobs are not always living wage jobs. And so myself and others have said at different meetings that, hey, you know, we need to connect all the dots. It's not just about getting folk into jobs, getting them into living wage jobs, jobs that will actually pay the rent and get them out of homelessness, because at the end of the day, that's what we're really trying to do. Many of the homeless already do work, and yet they don't make enough money to pay rent. But I also want to suggest that you look at some of the other things that are already being done for the homeless and how they are or aren't working. And I don't want you to take my word for anything. I want you to be honest and open and to do some real research, like media folk always do, right? So we have the Emory Workbed Shelter, which has about 85 beds. We have men in there. It's an all-male shelter where they're either working or they're in job training. And I know that some of them end up being there for 2, 3, or 4 years because their job does not pay a living wage. And a former director of DHS said that his mantra was, get a job, get a better job, get a career. And during this administration, Deborah Carroll, who's the director of the Department of Employment Services, actually told me that that was her mantra, and I said, "You sound like David Burns," and she said, "That's who I got it from." But be that as it may, it's a decent mantra, but we need to follow through on that. And so let's connect all the dots. And I want you media folk to really kind of keep it in government's face that 3/4 of the homeless can work. So of the 8,000 or so homeless that we have here in the city, 6,000 of them can work. There may be some other deeper issues when it comes to employment, such as soft skills, but nonetheless, I'm not trying to put forth the entire solution right now. I just want to start the conversation, and I just want to refocus the government's efforts because I want their plan to work. Because quite frankly, I've said it for years, and I'll say it again, that the people who have the deep mental and physical issues that prevent them from working, they're going to always be in the system in one way or another. They're going to be in shelter, they're going to be in permanent supportive housing, they're going to be in rapid rehousing, they're going to be in some other program forever and ever until the day they leave this world, okay? But if you get able-bodied people who can do different jobs, working, then you can get them into affordable housing, you know, and they can pay for that housing with their living wage jobs. You get them out of the system altogether. They're not living off of taxpayer dollars. They actually are paying taxes, so they use less resources and they contribute to those resources through their taxes. And so it's a win for everybody, and you end up having more money to help those who can't help themselves. And so let's begin that conversation in earnest. I want the mayor to succeed. I want the ICH to succeed. I'm on your side, Christy Greenwald and Laura Zeilinger and all the others out there who are working on ending homelessness. And I want this 10-year plan to actually work. Thank you.